Hello, welcome to Dumb Decisions, where a dumb guy and a smart fellow talk about Helldivers 2. My name is Under Peace, I'm here with Micho, and today we're talking about melee weapons. We have them, finally, Micho. We predicted them, we wanted them, we needed them, and we got
begging,
them.
man. That was my hands and knees.
And they don't quite meet our expectations.
I know I'm being stingy. I know it's like I'm being ungrateful. I asked for something. They technically gave me what I asked for. I've been asking for melee weapons for quite some time. I've brought them up on several occasions.
Yep.
I just think they kind of screwed the pooch a little bit. And again, maybe I'm just being a little over analytical, but so far we have two weapons, two new melee weapons to my knowledge, unless there's something else out there. You have the little stun baton that you can only get in the requisition shop for 250 schmeckles. That's not in the war bond. You have to buy that with schmeckles,
Which is a whole thing we can talk about. Selling
Correct.
weapons for super credits.
Correct. Yeah, that's its own thing. I mean, yeah, 100%. We can definitely talk about that at some point. But right now, you can buy the stun baton, and it's got a nice range of motion. You kind of just swing it. The only way you can, if you're playing on PlayStation like us, you're just hitting R2, and that's all it does. It swings. But it's pretty fast, and it does stun them, and it's kind of fun to use. So it's not the worst. And then you have the lance. You have this spear, this stun spear. It's definitely powerful. It just feels rigid because you can really just do this one simple stabbing motion. You have this awesome lance, and you're not utilizing it within the range of motion that I think it is able of providing you, which is kind of frustrating. You're just a little stabby stabber.
I do appreciate that they're both one-handed weapons, so you can bring a shield with them. Although,
Correct.
as far as I know, like both of the shields that are available, there's the energy shield and then there's the ballistic shield, and they can prevent small arm fires or high-profile projectiles, whatever it's called. We don't have a melee shield, and I feel like naturally I would assume the ballistic shield would protect against melee attacks.
I think it's just like small arms fire, right?
That's what it said, and you discouraged me from testing it because I read that.
Well, I tested it. I was using it. It didn't seem all that effective. Maybe it's because I'm shit.
So I think that is probably the reason melee weapons don't really work right now, because you need to be a little bit tankier, so we need to either take some melee resistant armor, which we don't have. We have flinch resistant armor, which kind of sort of works, but then you're missing out of the peak physical physique, which is dealing extra melee damage. So I think that you don't have the tankiness or the defensiveness to really make them thrive as like a primary strategy, which is that's what you wanted, right? Like you wanted melees to be able to be your primary strategy, just like I wanted to be able to be a sniper, right?
Correct. And now that you say that, because you just said primary, you hit a buzzword.
Yep.
Technically, the only melee items that we have right now are indeed secondary.
That's where I was going.
They do perform like a secondary weapon to a degree. So I guess you are meant to be limited. It's a secondary recourse of action because you ran out of ammunition in your primary or something like that, and you're in a pinch. It's not meant to clear the entire battlefield of enemies. So I understand that. So maybe, because we're talking about it, maybe we're predicting the future. I mean, we've kind of been doing it already. We're talking about this now, so maybe it's going to happen. Here, I'll say this. I have faith, dude. I have faith that at some point in time, maybe in a future war bond, they'll come out with a primary melee weapon that does far more in terms of its capabilities, its damage output, and its range of motion.
Yeah, I think that that's the natural progression of what we will eventually get, and I think that's going to be more in line with what you wanted, because you wanted to be able to use that as a primary strategy, but I think that they fail as secondaries as well. And for one reason, they have a pull-out animation. They're cool animations where like you pull them out and you kind of just like extend them, the stun
you feel
baton,
cool. You feel
lash
badass.
it out. Yeah, it looks cool, but it takes a second. And when I use my secondary, it's because I ran out of ammo and I'm in a tight situation. So I want to be able to swap to that and fire. And with the melee weapons, the animation is long enough that you have to like predictively swap to it so that you have that 1 to 2 seconds where you can then start.
I didn't even know that. I didn't realize that. You can't use it right away.
That got me in a few different scenarios where I was just getting hit because of that. So it very much is a secondary strategy, but it is not a reliable secondary strategy.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to digress too much, but in a previous conversation we were talking about boosters. And this is correlated because we're talking about melee in this game and maybe how you can improve it. But wouldn't it be cool if there was a booster that supplemented melee? Or just the action of taking melees?
Like, melees don't take stamina.
Yeah, like something that... Exactly. You stop your stamina from being drained on every slash or poke. Or, you know what would make me really enjoy melee more in this game? Now I'm just asking to be a space marine, but being able to maybe dodge or, like, have the ability to dodge. Like, what if a booster actually gave your Helldiver a new ability? Like a new command action?
I'm going to say go to our discussion about boosters because we talked about this a little bit more in depth, and I think that an ability like that would become a mandatory must-have booster. I want to turn back to melee weapons, and I want to talk about the stunning effect of them. The fact that they are stun weapons, like a stun baton and a stun lance, is the only thing that makes melee slightly viable, because if you weren't able to shock and stun things from hitting you, you would never be able to get into melee range. And even though we weren't successful, you and I had this moment where we were just in a horde of bugs and we were hitting them from both angles and just they were frozen.
Yeah, that felt nice, man.
That just made me realize we probably should have brought stun grenades.
Oh, dude, see, there's a whole other way that we have to have another melee mission, quite frankly. We have to go on another melee odyssey. I think there are better ways that we can prepare ourselves to do some damage.
How do you guys prepare yourself for melee?
Do you melee? Does anybody even care to do that in this game? I think it's fun.
I think it's fun. It's a whole different playstyle. It's like you get give me these classes in a way, you know,
or the ability to be a certain quote unquote class.
That's what this game really needs to start refining itself to, is like filling you into these different playstyles. We need a kind of heavy gunner playstyle, and we need a scout. A scout would be cool. Something that's more tactical and information-based.
A tankier class that is there to take on aggro.
Oh, like a grenade. Here you go. A grenade that's like a pheromone for the bugs or for the bots.
Oh, dude,
so
you can lay bait.
Yeah, that would be...
That's a whole other... Dude, look at that. Look at us making magic.
And they kind of fall in line to the melee strategy, you know? Like you set down the bait where you drop the pheromone stuff and they start swarming that area... And then you can go in and start bashing some brains. I do want to talk about purchasing the weapon.
Talk about purchasing the weapon, man.
So, Helldivers 2 does a lot of things right. I think that they run a live service in a very excellent way. Their microtransactions are reasonable, and they're micro as a preliminary factor. The currency is obtainable in-game. If you want to, you can go farm super credits and never give them $1, which... By all means, do that if you want to, but if you're playing the game that much, give the guys some money, you know? Just a little bit. Give them some love. They're doing a lot of good work for you. But you don't have to, and that's huge. But I have two problems with selling weapons, and this is falling in line with melee because it's the first weapon that they've sold you. Actually, it's not. Technically, it's the second weapon that they've sold you. Yeah. The first one being the submachine gun that comes with the Super Citizen Edition. Now, the submachine gun is arguably worse than every other gun in the game. So it's not a big deal that they're selling it to you. And that was intentionally so. The stun baton, I would argue, is better than the stun lance because it's faster, it hits a wider area. I think that it's a dangerous precedent that they'll sell you the weapons. Granted, you can get the currency in-game, sure, that makes it better. But it's a dangerous precedent because it's time limited. It's only in the store for 48 hours.
Until it possibly rotates again.
Right. And as the game gets older, the rotations are going to become less frequent.
Scarce.
Exactly. So I don't like that scarcity factor of it. If there was a store where it was like, okay, this is permanently on sale. You can buy this at any time, but it costs super credits. Sell me the fucking weapon. I'm cool with that. Am I being too harsh? Do you agree or disagree? What do you feel?
If they continue on this route, they make whatever weapons are in rotation valuable. People are going to want them because they're there in a temporary moment of time.
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to be ever vigilant on these, let's call them drops, right? So I think there's an exclusivity factor that makes that kind of tantalizing to us as consumers because you might have something that other people don't. Hey, not everybody has this.
Yeah.
It's the phone.
But is that a dangerous precedent?
It's different, for sure. I don't think there's many video games doing that, but I could be wrong. I guess I'm indifferent unless... Because right now it's just the stun baton, baton, whatever. And then the one before that like is a non-factor to me. I didn't even know it existed, and I don't think anybody uses it anyway. Who cares? Mm-hmm. But if they continue to do this, and now there's assault rifles and snipers, and like, even a shotgun, quite frankly, anything else, yeah, I think it can be a little concerning, because what if there's times where I'm just not playing the game? I'm not home, I'm busy, I'm working, and I miss this rotation, and now I have to wait some arbitrary amount of time to get this super cool thing that will make my game a different experience. Yeah, there's definitely frustration in that. It's yin and yang, man. I guess I see it from both ends. I'm kind of on the fence, I suppose. What does everybody else think? You guys think it's a wise play? Are you cool with them selling you weapons in the manner that they have just done with this stun baton? How do you say the fucking word?
Baton.
Baton. Thank you.
Well, so let me add this to the mix. It is a dangerous precedent because eventually a weapon gets released that is too strong, that is overpowered, that is a meta weapon, and then it's only available for a limited period of time, FOMO, for real-world money, even if you can't farm it. Like, that's dangerous, because eventually that does happen. And
you're right. It does set a dangerous precedent. I'm with you 100%. I've crossed your side of the fence.
I love that. Now, let me break that fucking fence down, because every gun in the game is pay to win. Every gun that they release from here on out, they're all Warbond exclusives. You have to get a Warbond to get anything other than the free Warbond that comes with the game.
The fence is gone, man. You're right.
So does it matter?
I guess not. For a continuing live service game, you know these fuckers are going to charge you one way or another. You're not going to get by
Right.
not spending anything.
No.
Unless you're cool with just having the same shit always and it doesn't matter to you, and you know that's just the type of consumer you are. And there are people like that exist. I'm kind of one of them. I just earned enough currency in game to buy a Warbond because I kind of refuse to give them any more of my money. So it just depends on who you are.
Yeah, and see, I'm different. I didn't want to put medals to waste, so I waited until I maxed out a Warbond to buy my next one, you know? So we're different kind of players. I would just say the stun baton gets a pass for me because there is an alternative available that is comparable, being the stun lance, and that is available through a Warbond, which you're also paying for, but whatever.
In the end, you're always paying, man. We pay to live.
With that said, people, we were supposed to talk about melee weapons. We mostly did.
Oh, yeah,
mostly
but
did.
then it turned a little philosophical, man. It's nice. Maybe people, you know, maybe if they stuck around till now, they learned something. Not only about the world they live in, but themselves.
Well, you tell us. Did you learn something? Do you like when we're philosophical? Do you want us to shut the fuck up and show you some gameplay? What do you want, people?
Just tell me what you want.